We welcome you to God's Chapel, where we take you on a chapter-by-chapter, verse-by-verse, wisdom-building study of God's Word, the Bible. Understanding God's real truth will change your life, and we thank you for joining us today.
Well, hello and good day to you. I'm glad that you folks could make it for this. Now, this is going to be one of our little subject studies, and we're planning on doing some of those to give you some shorter videos to look at. Also, answer a few questions. We're going to try to go into a little bit more depth than we would on the Q&A portion of the show, but this will give you a good idea. A good answer for some of these questions. Now, one of the questions that's often asked is, what kind of Bible should I use? What about all the various new translations of the Bible? And I'm not going to go into all the names of them. There's about 20 of the new ones. And then, of course, the question, which Bible do we recommend and why? So, to answer a lot of the questions for you right off the bat, we're going to cover as much ground as we can quickly. I don't know how long this video is going to last. It's supposed to be short. The only Bible that you can use is the King James Bible. Why? Well, because the other Bibles did not follow the manuscripts. What are the manuscripts? The manuscripts are the Bible. The manuscripts are what the Bible is taken from, and the manuscripts contain a world of wealth, look out, and information that is ordinarily not in any of your ordinary Bibles. I apologize, but I'm going to look something up here. I do want to show you something. There are a couple of tomes or books that are really important to our study, and we want to work with the very best that we can. We want to show you what is proper and give you a feel for it. Now, the King James Bible, why? Why that one? There's one main big reason, and that is because it is interlinear with the manuscripts. Okay, Steve, what's interlinear? We're going to do that. First, I want to show you a picture of something called the Masorah. Now, the Greater and Minor Masorah, this is in the Museum of England, and it was done by a gentleman named Ginsburg. Ginsburg is one of those, you're just going to have to kind of go with me here, because every church claims to have scholars. Oh, we've got scholars. They read Greek, they read Hebrew, this, that, the other thing. And oh, do you? If you really have these scholars, why can't they read the Greek and the Hebrew? They can't even read the English version of the Bible. So, the Masorah, the manuscripts, the Masoretic text actually locks in the entire Bible from one end to the other. It starts with the middle word and goes out, starts with 0, and then goes 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, all the way to the two ends of the book, and that is how every single word is locked into every book. Now, I want to show you a picture. If I seemed a little distracted there, it's because I was trying to find the right page. I want to show you a picture of the Greater and Minor Masorah. This, if I can get this in here properly, is the Masoretic text. This big stuff here is the biblical text, and if you look around it, there's these little notations. There's a whole bunch of notations there. There's notations on the side here. There's notations in the columns in between, and down the other side of the page, and across the bottom of the page. See all those notes? Notes, notes, notes. Now, those are notes, notations that the actual writers of the Bible, the manuscripts, wrote. And you got to think to yourself, if God came to you and He gave you some information that was going to last for all time, it was going to go into the handbook for everybody, forever, for human being, mankind to reference to and understand and learn, you know, you'd go back and you'd look over the text that you first wrote, and then you'd make notations so that people would understand what you actually wrote. Because you'd go back and you'd look over it later on and you'd go, whoa, wait a minute here, wait a minute. There's a bunch of stuff in here that they can do just about anything with. They can go here, they can go there, they can figure it out this way, you know, oh man. So it is basically the two texts require each other. You have to have the biblical text in order for the notes to make any sense. And you have to have the notes so that the biblical text makes sense or cannot be misconstrued. I'll give you one simple example. Their love is not our love. Okay? Take that as a verse. Their love is not our love. Well, what does that mean? It means nothing, and it means everything. Whatever you darn well please. So, in order to check these words individually, we have to go back to a thing called Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. Look the words up. You can even look up the word love and then in the first part of the verse, and then the word love in the second part of the verse. And you can find out the meanings of those two words in the verse, because Strong's gives you actually a little piece of the sentence. And you can look those words up and you know exactly what they mean. Well, by looking those up, we find that the first word, love, is a word in the Hebrew which means fame and fortune in the earthly realm. To make yourself puffed up, to be famous, to be somebody important, and to make lots and lots of money. Lucre. Lucre, way past just a living. We're talking, you know, big money. So, and then the second word, love, is God's true and abiding love, His agape, that love that takes us to heaven and gives us an eternity of life, God's eternal truth. Now, if we put that all together, real simple thing, read the same verse with the proper meanings on the two words love and love. Their love of fame and fortune in the earthly realm, in other words, they don't give a darn about God, screw Him, I want the money and the fame. Their love of fame and fortune in the earthly realm is not as our love of God's eternal life-giving Word. Oh, so now I know what their love is not our love means by simply looking up those words. It would not be possible to look those words up if the King James were not interlinear. Okay, Steve, what's this interlinear stuff? I made a chart. Dude, we can see what this is. This is easy. Okay, so here we go. See if I can look around this thing so I can kind of point to it for you. I guess that's going to have to do. King James Bible is interlinear, here you can see. And this is the manuscripts. We're going to use the Greek manuscripts as an example. And so this is the Greek up here, and this is the English down here. Okay? Now, remember I talked about the Greater and Minor Masorah starting in the center and working its way out? Well, that's why I put a number 1 right there. I'm looking at the monitors backwards from what I feel like. So there's a 1, and then you'll notice that here it goes 2 and 2, and then it goes to 3 and 3, and it continues that way from the very center of the book all the way out to both sides. And that way it locks in every single word in the entire book so that no word can be missed, no word can be discarded. Now, the second thing is what's called interlinearity or interlinear. You'll notice that up here we have what I've listed as Greek words. So we've got Greek words here. Okay, we're going to pretend those are Greek words. And down here we have English words there. Again, this is backwards from what I'm actually seeing. So there we have the English words. Now here's the word linear or interlinear means that there's a line drawn from one language to the other, one word at a time, every single word. So go over here. This word there in the Greek has a line drawn down to the English word. And this one has a line drawn down to the English word. And likely this one and the next one, whoops, the next one and the next one. And that's what makes it interlinear. It goes from one language to another, and there is a line that goes directly from the word in the manuscripts to the word in the King James Bible. Okay. The only difficulty with this system, and the King James, look, a lot of people criticize how the King James Bible was done. It was done by, it was a government, first of all, it was a government project, and it was done by committee. Not just a committee, lots of committees. And these committees combined their knowledge at one level, and then it went to a second tier of committees, and a third, and a fourth, and I'm not quite sure how many. I have to look that up. And this is meant to be a short, and I don't want to go, I don't prepare any more than I need to. Not that I'm lazy, it's just, I want you to get an idea here. That's basically what it's for. And then what they did is they decided on the words. So if we started here with a word, they decided, well, this is a word in the Greek, and what would be the best word for us to use in the English? We'll just transliterate. To translate means to translate like by a sentence at a time. To transliterate means word for word. Unfortunately, the languages don't quite match. And so they have words in the Greek that we don't have in the English, and we got lots of words in the English that they never had in the Greek. And so they did their best to try to get these things to match up, but it's what they call a soft science at best. It's not rock solid transfer 1 to 2. So they did their best, but because of all these committees and the tiers of committees and all the people that were involved in going through all this stuff, they made a lot of mistakes. Some mistakes aren't so bad, some mistakes are pretty bad. And that's why you'll see me continually correcting or giving a better understanding of the words in the Bible, because we have had another tremendous scholar, besides Ginsburg and Bullinger, who did the Bible. We've had another tremendous scholar his name is Dr. Strong, and you get an old edition of Strong's Exhaustive Concordance will take you back to the actual proper word of origin. So if you're looking at an English word here in the King James Bible, Strong's will take you back to the original word in the Greek, Chaldee, or Hebrew, and some Syriac and Ogham also creeps in there. There's no less than 5 different types of Chaldee. There's like 13, and there's 12 to 14 different languages in the Bible. Dr. Strong went back and found the word of origin for every single one of them, because he was using this system put in place by the Greater and Minor Masorah that the translators of the King James Bible followed implicitly. So the only mistakes that they made was in the way that they translated this word, that Greek word or Hebrew or Chaldee or whatever it is, into our English word. But we can, thanks to Dr. Strong, we can look up this word and it will give us the exact book, chapter, verse, so that we know for a fact. In fact, even the word in the verse, like with the example where there was the word love was twice, their love is not our love, it even gives you a little piece of the sentence so you know which word you're talking about. Then in that book, that chapter, that verse with that particular word, Strong's allows you to take it back to the word of origin. Then he gives you a complete definition of that word, and he also gives you a list of English words that word was translated into in the entire King James Bible. You might have to run that back and listen to it, because it's confusing the first time or two through, but after you get it, it's like, oh, I get it. First time you got in an automobile, that was a little tricky too, but it didn't take you long till you got, oh, I can drive a car. Same thing going on here. So if you hear me correcting a lot of words, it's because the work has been done by Dr. Strong to take us back to the original words, the original meanings, and the notation has been brought forth into, there's the Bullinger's Bible as well. And Bullinger is the only one that Ginsburg allowed to proofread his work on the Greater and Minor Masorah in the Museum of England. And Ginsburg is the only person that Bullinger allowed to really proofread his work on what's called the Companion Bible. It's got 198 appendixes in the back, covering a wide variety of Christian subjects. He discovered a thing called structures in the Bible that look like little outlines, but they're not outlines. They have to do with the interplay through the Bible at different points, so that you can see where things are agreeing with each other or opposing each other, or where there's agreement and opposing, and then opposing and agreement, and so on. There's a bunch of different ways that these structures work, and it really aids the Bible student in understanding that stuff. Plus, Bullinger put a lot of notation onto the side, bringing us back again to the words of origin, and also explaining many of the facets and giving us a number of reference verses. And I've had a lot of verse Bibles. They say, oh, well, this dovetails, or this is also spoken of in such and such a book, chapter, and verse. They're wrong 80-90% of the time. Where it's just the opposite for Bullinger. When he gives you some reference verses in books, it's right. Like 99 out of 100 times, it's exactly on the button. I mean, he's like one of those unimpeachable scholars. He's the real thing. So by having Bullinger and having Strong and having the Masoretic count from the center of the book out to each end, and having the verses numbered by Ezra and Nehemiah, and of course by using the interlinearity feature that is in the King James Bible, the whole thing dovetails perfectly, exactly back to the manuscripts. And if you learn to do this, you can read the manuscripts. Now, it's very helpful to have a good teacher, just like when you took your driving lessons. You'll notice that they gave you some videotapes or some books or, things to look at, showed you some films or whatever. And it was all fine and dandy to read that stuff, but you actually had to get in the car, behind the wheel, and drive for you to actually gain the skill and learn about how to drive that car. Okay? Same thing with anything. I love to fly little airplanes myself, and it was the same game all over again. They gave me all kinds of information and videos and this and that and the other thing, but I actually had to get in the plane and fly it before I got a real feel for what I was doing and got good at the controls. Same thing with doing this exercise. I know my explanation is a little bit confusing, but if you start doing that, then you will learn how. And we will have more information on this for you later. We are trying to get a line on the proper books, Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, the Companion Bible by Bullinger, also Smith's Bible Dictionary, very, very important. There's also a fellow by the name of Green that did an interlinear work. And we get these things for you. We'll let you know when we can offer them. And for those of you that really, really want to do the study yourself, or to double check what we say here, then you're welcome to do that. And we invite you to do that. In the meantime, rest assured that I am doing this work, and there is also another fellow, a genuine scholar. He also is doing this work, and we're double-checking balances back and forth with each other so that we know exactly where we're at, and doing our very, very best to bring you the actual, factual meanings from the manuscript, regardless of any mistakes that the committee, the government project by committees, may have made. And so it's a labor of love, but we want to do it so that we can bring it to you, because God's Word is so important. And you go to church these days, and the churches, they make a lot of nice talk, and I don't mean to pick on them, and I'm not talking about every church. There's a lot of good churches out there, but there's a lot more that just don't have this simple system in place so that they can get it right. So I don't mean to pick on anybody, and I didn't name anybody, so I sure appreciate your time and your patience listening to this, and hopefully this will help you so that you can pick it up and be able to look it up yourself on the fly when somebody has a question for you, so that you can look it up, find out the truth, and let them know. And I thank you very, very much for listening. I know that was all just a little bit, a little fast, a little bit deep, and I want to thank you so much. And I hope that your study is very, very fruitful. So I want you to stay in God's Word, as my mentor says, every single day, even with troubles, is a good day, because Jesus is the living Word. And we thank you.